you know that Nevada is #5 in top states with solar energy, and that you can get rebates and tax credits for adding solar panels to your roof? Hi, Kathryn with the Thomas Group. I love local real estate in Las Vegas, Nevada. Today I am at Allegiant Stadium and I am going to be answering all of your solar questions. But first, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all of our videos. So I'm here with Colby with Powur. He's an independent consultant, and we are going to get all of your solar questions answered. So the first one I have is, what is the difference between leasing and buying?
Yeah, absolutely. And we get that a lot. And it's similar to a home, right? You own your home in the same way you can own your energy. And what that looks like for most is a $0 out-of-pocket cost, and basically your lot payment for like the solar loan in that sense. So you're paying off a loan for your solar equipment instead of leasing or renting from your electric company like NV Energy here. And then, rates are always going up with NV Energy, and that's kind of where we go. Try to shy away from the leases because those prices generally go up about 2 or 3% per year as well.
Wow.
So a little bit more of a win for the customer, but definitely better.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've decided that solar is right for my house, and I definitely want to get solar. What's the process once I ring you up and I'm like, hey, what happens?
Absolutely. So first step is we'll take a look at your electric bill, and that'll kind of help us analyze the savings and what that's most important to most people. And obviously, it's clean, green energy, so that's also important, and it's really important to me.
Which is another plus right now. I mean, clean energy, kind of saving our environment is a huge plus to all this as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the driving factor is savings for most. So we take a look at your electric bill, see if it's even possible to save you money. If it's not, that's fine. But if it is, then we can try to get you approved for that loan. Generally, we recommend a credit score of anywhere above 600. We can work with you on that. Ideally, above 650, we'll get you approved.
Okay.
And then,
quick question on that with your credit scores. Now, if you're thinking about buying a house, you have to look at debt to income ratio, interest rates, stuff like that. When you're doing financing for solar panels, is it similar where you have to have credit score, debt to income ratio? What are the interest rates?
So yeah, we do take into account debt to income if it's between like 600 and 700, and it's different depending on the financer you use or we use. We have several, but so generally between 600 and 700, they'll take debt to income into account, and above 7, it's just credit score, and generally it's Experian that we use.
Okay.
So
back to this process then.
Yeah.
We've called you, you've come out, you're looking at our energy bill. What happens next?
Yeah, so if we get you approved, basically we'll have a technician come out, take a bunch of pictures of your roof, of your electrical, and make sure everything kind of is drawn up like we think it's going to be on our platform. And if it is, we'll obviously move forward and get that permitted. That's kind of the next step there. So.
So you do get a permit for your work.
Absolutely.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
And then every roof qualify for this? Are there certain roofs that are it's not going to work for?
Most do qualify. Kind of depends on if you've got, your tile or your shingle, or I would say most actually do. And from there we get it permitted with Clark County in this case, or the city, or both. And then we kind of move forward with the actual final design. And then after that, we'll schedule the time for installation. Generally it's done within the same day, sometimes 2 or 3 days for the bigger systems.
So what all am I getting with solar?
Yeah, so after you got it installed, you've got a predictable energy source. And it's basically just panels on your roof, and sometimes you don't even see the things. And they just tie right into your electrical panel right now. And so there's really no change. You don't have to turn off all your lights all the time, and there's no change to your life at all, which is the coolest part.
That's really fantastic to know. So now, what about positive side to having a battery or adding a battery? Do you have a cap for how many batteries you can add?
Yeah, definitely. And it's becoming more popular here in Vegas because I think we generally follow California, and the entire market does in the solar industry too. So
fun fact, California is actually #1 in solar, so we're kind of getting all of our stuff from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually we do send power back to there from the solar fields here. So whether or not you knew that or not, but
I did not.
So yeah, back to the batteries. It's basically a time of you've got a couple different options you can work it. You've got basically your safety and your security. So you're scared of a power outage if you're in a rural area or in the city. You can basically store all your solar power in the battery. So when the power goes out, you'll have that power to power at least your critical, like your lights and your fridge, and keep the important things running.
So you won't necessarily need to have a generator if you're worried about power outages.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. And then the second appliance is like it is time of use. And again, that's really big in California, where they have time of use and peak hours, where they charge you, in California, it's like 30 to 40 cents, maybe even more now, per kilowatt hour. And it's much more, between the hours of when everyone's home, right? They've figured that out.
And so this is without solar, what the power company is charging you?
Yep.
Okay.
So between, let's say, 2 to 6 or 3 to 7, when everyone's home, they're getting ready and they're all doing their thing, they'll charge you 3 to 4 times more for that same energy. Versus, your off-peak hours during the day when maybe no one's home, they'll charge you much, much less. So with the battery,
I never knew that. I'm learning something new today as well.
So really the battery, so when the solar comes in and say no one's home, all the solar powers whatever's on and then goes back to the grid or the battery in this case. So if it goes to the battery, and then when you come home, there'll be all that power in the battery for you to use during those peak hours, instead, so you don't have to end up pulling from the grid at 30 to 40 cents a kilowatt hour or whatever the case is.
Now, so with the rebates, do you know how much are the rebates? Is there a cap to how many batteries you can have?
Yeah, there is a cap. It used to be $5,000. I believe I want to say it's 6. Okay. It's $3,000 per battery now.
So, so you can only have 2 batteries. Yeah. Don't try to get too many.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so rarely do we have rainy or cloudy days in Las Vegas, but it helps for your storage on those days as well then.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. It works similar to net metering. If you want to just do the battery, forget about the net metering, so you don't have anything or little to do with NV Energy. All your solar would come in from the previous day and still be sitting there in your battery. So if we get one of those 30 days a year of cloudy and rain, then we can have some energy in the battery to use in your home.
Okay, and you did say little to do with NV Energy, so you can't go completely off the grid with solar panels.
Correct, yeah.
All right. Yep. Now, is that something that you see happening possibly in the future, or?
Possibly, and you see it a lot more in rural areas when they don't have a reliable utility company.
Okay.
And it's a long process. They have to rewire a bunch of stuff in your house, kind of move all the circuits over. It gets really technical, so it's just
we'll save
not
that for another video. And it probably gets pretty expensive then too.
Very expensive to do off grid. Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So is there any damage that happens to your roof when the solar panels are installed?
Here, very little, I would say. But in other areas, it definitely comes into play. What damage could happen, let's say a big storm comes in and there's hail or something like that, damages your roof, you've got roof leaks. That can happen. So
the actual installation of the panels, though, there's not really much damage that's done?
No. Typically, it's very, very secure, and they've come a long ways in how they do all that now. So what they do technically is like go into the rafters of your roof, so there's no holes or anything, and they'll patch everything back up. And it's very, very safe, secure.
All right, so no holes. You don't have to worry about leaks for that one rainy day a year that we might get.
Right. Yeah.
And so then, what if say something does happen and you have to replace part of your roof while your panels are on your roof?
Yeah.
Do they get all taken off? What happens then?
Yeah, that's a good question. And generally, I've worked with storms and stuff before in many other states. But if that does happen, first step is homeowners insurance. Okay. So if they're going to do any incentives to work on the roof, they can also pay for the solar panels to be removed.
Okay. So they do have to be removed to and then put back on. Okay.
Correct.
But your homeowners insurance might cover that, so reach out to them first.
Definitely.
So speaking of home warranties, what warranties are covered with solar panels for your company?
The standard manufacturer's warranties are generally anywhere between 10 and 25 years.
Okay.
There are workmanship warranties. Your roof warranties are generally about 10 to 12 years.
Okay. So if something happens with your solar panel that damages the roof because of the solar panel, not because of weather, it's covered.
Exactly.
Great. Okay, good to know.
Our company kind of went over and above and found that gap. Some companies will say, oh no, that wasn't our fault. and that has happened in the past with other companies. So what our company did is we partnered with an insurance company that's backed by Lloyd's of London, who have been around forever, since like the 17th century or something crazy. So they're not going anywhere, and they cover everything for 30 years, and everything, I'm meaning parts, labor, and roof penetrations.
Okay.
So complete 100% peace of mind for 30 years, and it's hard to beat that.
And so then how long are solar panels expected to last?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And most last beyond their warranties. They've been floating around in space for 50 years or something crazy.
Okay.
So generally they can last effectively for 40 to 50 years, I would say. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Great. So another fun fact, when you are trying to think about leasing and purchasing or financing your solar panels, if you're leasing, you really don't have any added value to your home, and it can be harder for someone buying your home to qualify for the lease. But if you're financing, or if you own them outright, which is the best, then it can be up to $9,000 additional to your home price. So that's really great to know. And financing is easier to qualify for than the leasing, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Financing, it's similar to the home, and your solar system, it's hard to say what it'll be, depends on how much energy you use. Generally recommend a credit score of anywhere between 6 and anything over 600, you'll be fine.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And if you're buying a home that has solar panels on it, whether they're owned or financed, at least you know what your electricity bill is going to be every month. So,
exactly.
Going into a new home, you already have costs. That's a really great
Yeah. Let's say you move in 7 years or something like that, and your loan's not paid off. You don't want to take out of the equity of your house. You can just transfer that to the new homeowner. They'll also enjoy that low, flat electric bill, just same as you do. So.
Great. And so are your solar panels owned if you're the homeowner? How does that work?
Yeah. So if you do the loan, yes, they absolutely are owned by you. So.
Okay.
And that's kind of brings me to the next point, which is the tax credit. This year is 26%. And I believe the next year as well. So you only get the tax credit if you own the panels, and either outright or with a loan.
Okay, so for the next 2 years, you have 26%. After that, it goes down to 22%, correct?
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yep.
There's no more tax credits in 2024.
Right.
So if you're thinking about solar panels, now's definitely a great time to jump on that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, are there any other things that you think we should know about solar? Questions that you get asked?
Nothing much. I really enjoy what I do, and it's doing something good for the environment and people. So
So you get more out of it than just money saving.
Yeah.
You're doing something for the environment as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all this information. If you guys have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Put them in the comments below. We can definitely get your questions answered.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.